here I am in my notes from the notes I typed from class that we took, and also from the lecture notes, and also these are the definitions from our study guide. So authentic assessment is a type of performance assessment in which students are presented with an educational task that are directly meaningful instead of indirectly meaningful. It's pretty self-explanatory. I think these would probably have to be my favorites assessment in high school. A behavior checklist is a list of discrete behaviors related to a specific area of a student's performance that is used by observing a student and marking the behaviors on that list that were observed. A performance task is one activity or item in a performance assessment. A procedure checklist is a checklist of the steps necessary to complete a process correctly. And I'm going to get into this stuff when I get down to the notes of why these are important. Self-evaluation checklist is a checklist students use to evaluate their own performance. And a product checklist is a checklist of the necessary and important characteristics of the product a student is required to produce that is used to evaluate the quality of the work. The analytic rubric is a rule that you use to rate or score the separate parts or traits of a student's product or process first. Then sum these part scores to obtain a total score. That says score. It's supposed to say score. I'm sorry. Scaffolding is the degree of support, guidance, and directions you provide students when they set out to complete the task. And computer simulation is on-demand events that happen under controlled conditions and attempts to mimic naturally occurring events. If we go down here to the notes from class, oops, sorry, I went way too far. Okay, a performance task requires students to apply their knowledge and skill in order to 1. Solve problems, create original product, and demonstrate a particular skill. I think this is very important. I think I should use this, and everybody should use this in their future classroom or their classroom in general. And the question that was asked after that is, why should we use performance tasks? And I think that's pretty good question. And it said, when you explained it to us, you said highly effective teachers support the process for meaningful learning by creating ambitious and meaningful tasks to reflect how learning is used in the field. And I remember right after this, you said something about rigor. And I think that goes hand in hand with it. Performance tasks are most important because they engage you. And then it says, how do you assess products or problems or stuff like that? And then it said rubrics and checklists. And I don't think I thought about it growing up about how important a rubric and a checklist was when my teachers handed me those, that I needed to use those. But now that I'm in college, I appreciate them more than I can explain. Collaboration is very important with performance assessment. And then Laura, right after that, said we learn best through others. And I wrote that down because I thought that was very important, because I know when a peer is teaching me something that the teacher's already taught me, or I'm teaching another person, that I do learn best. And I think that's very important that we do use collaboration in our classroom. And then it says study groups go with collaboration. And then, of course, I went too far. How do we create a performance task? And they're created from standards. And I know I probably wrote this down there, but it is so important that you use the language in your performance tasks that are from the standards. Then it says great performance tasks can be adjusted. Having different options for group work helps them see the levels and helps you see the levels. Some people are higher and some people are lower, and that's okay. And then it is important that you allow room for creativity and originality. You will need basic criteria in which students will be assessed. Then I put, give your students checklists. I love checklists. I love knowing what I have to accomplish, what I still have to accomplish, and what I've already gotten done. And there it is where it says the language of the standards must be included. Then it gives you the definition of checklists. And a checklist is an effective formative assessment strategy to monitor specific skills, behaviors, or dispositions of individual or all students in the classroom. It shows students how to organize their steps and sequence steps that will lead to the completion of their task. It helps you focus on specific behaviors, thinking skills, social skills, writing skills, have peer reviews, and speaking skills. Peers use checklists to observe other students, and I think it's so important that peers check other peers. And then lastly, it says rubrics is a scoring guide used to evaluate the quality of students' constructed responses, usually related to performance. So that pretty much in a nutshell was everything that we learned in the lecture, and then some of the important definitions off of the study guide that I was so thankful for. So I hope that I covered everything you wanted to know. I think the most important thing that I've learned from this is that I do need to use performance tasks in my classroom. I do need to give my students checklists. I do need to use the vocabulary in my performance task. And I think it is important that I go off a rubric. Thank you.